दोस्तों 65 वर्ष से ऊपर के पेंशन भोगियों की इसमें चमकने वाली है किस्मत। पेंशन में 10% की सीधी बढ़ोतरी पर सरकार इसमें आप सभी का फैसला मान्य कर चुकी है। जी हाँ साथियों, इसमें पेंशन हाई के साथ सरकार द्वारा 2025 से 6% महंगाई भत्ते पर कैबिनेट में 8 बड़े फैसले मान्य किए गए। देखिए आज की ये बड़ी खबर, इसमें 48 लाख कर्मचारी 65 लाख पेंशन धारकों के हित में सरकार की तरफ से क्या फैसले लिए गए हैं। देखिए बड़ी खबर।
What would be very exclusive this year? We understand deals, as you mentioned, it's done somewhere else and announced at the event to give the event more prominence. So would some steps like that which gives IEW also more prominence, or do we expect anything from the International Energy Agency or OPEC about India's oil demand and all these things? Because if we look at the energy landscape, it's fast changing, and maybe in the next 10 years consuming countries like India might have more voice, and an event like this gives more credence to that voice. So what is the larger philosophy of the government, for this year's IEW?
See, every country does not have a country-specific report from international organizations. Over the past 2 to 3 years, but again, to give you a sense of the overall numbers, the way IEW itself has grown. In terms of exhibition space, when we began in Bengaluru in 2023, we had about 15,000 square meters. And the people who were helping us, helping Tipi in this was DMG was the event managers for this, and they helped us do it together. We did it in the Bangalore Exhibition International Center. Next year, we moved to Goa at the ONGC site. So from 15,000 square meter space, we had moved up to 17,000 square meters of space. Almost about 10 to 15% increase happened when we did in 2024, and many of you were there. This year, there is a quantum jump from 17,000 square meter exhibition space. We are at 28,000 square meter space. And this therefore allows exhibitors much more play in terms of showcasing vehicles, technologies, equipment. All of that becomes available in addition to the entire Make in India pavilion, which typically has in the past 2 editions been curated by Engineers India Limited. That itself is something which is much bigger, and many more participants. In terms of high level participation, what we are looking at is over 20 foreign energy ministers or deputy ministers coming in. More than 30 foreign ambassadors are anticipated who are accredited to India, and heads of leading international organizations, as well as almost 80 to 90 chief executive officers, CEOs from some of the world's largest Fortune 500 companies, and Indian companies, Indian oil and gas companies. So you name it, with companies like who are marquee names in this, whether it is BP, Total, Baker Hughes, Vitol, Linde. I can just keep rattling off names in terms of the kind of companies who are participating at the highest level. You would have seen the kind of publicity which has already been happening. That is also getting ramped up as we speak, and around you, whether it's at the airport or in the city, you must have seen a lot of publicity happen. So there's a lot of buzz around this. Some of the things we will be focusing even more strongly would be things like battery storage, second generation and third generation biofuels, green ammonia, hydrogen. But again, what does make a difference here is that if I compare and contrast this with energy events which happen around the world, typically the top energy events tend to be located in countries which are producers of oil. So CERAWeek happens in the US. US is one of the top producers of oil and natural gas. ADIPEC happens in the UAE, again a top producer. But if you look at, this is the only event, only major energy event which happens in a consuming country. This is in some senses important because in the marketplace, customers matter, and they matter significantly. as one of the top consumers. We are amongst the top 3 consumers of oil and gas. And this is where the market is. So, if you are producing, if you are taking out oil, if you are taking out gas, the importance of your customer keeps coming back to you. And the idea is that when customers talk about it, concerns of customer tend to be become more prominent when an event is happening where the customer is looking. That is also what explains the importance of this event. Government's own expenditure for doing this event is we don't have a budget line from government. This is actually completely an industry event. PIPI does this. PIPI raises resources for it, and the fact that it sells exhibition space, it has the sponsorship, all that PIPI does. So government does not spend money on doing this event right from year one, from when we started this. Now remember, there was a hiatus of COVID, but pre-COVID, our energy events used to be things like Petrotech and others, which typically did involve substantial government funding or sponsorship and so on. So all that has changed very significantly, and there is, in some ways, the event has actually come of age where we feel that on its own it has already become self-sustaining and provides and an ability to host such large format events has been well established. We will be using this event to also showcase things which have been happening in India, because the theme of this event this year is energy solutions in India, energy solutions for the world. How we are helping curate such energy solutions. Typically, whether it's the kind of successes we have had in LPG, in terms of reaching out to such a large population, what we have done in biofuels, particularly ethanol, what we are hoping to do in green hydrogen, what we have done in terms of transmission infrastructure, what we have done in terms of battery storage, and what we have done in terms of compressed biogas. All these things we are showcasing here, in addition to the policy reforms which India has carried out. A good example is the Oilfield Regulation and Development Amendment Act, the support which has been given to biofuels and hydrogen, investment opportunities which have opened up, particularly in the no-go areas, our achievements in crossing 200 gigawatts of renewable energy, and all the advances in clean energy technology, as Panchamrit, gas-based economy, and rooftop solar. Many of these things India will be showcasing. People also, a lot of our exhibitors utilize the platform which is offered by IW to release publications and to do their own events on the sidelines. We had a number of such things happen in previous events. Many of you would recall the LNG deal with Qatar was in fact signed during IW last year. The study on LNG as a transportation fuel in medium and heavy commercial vehicles was released by the Kingdom of Netherlands and Niti Aayog at IW. And the India Oil Market Outlook by the International Energy Agency was also released during IW. So we are looking forward to similar releases and similar side events happening along with IW. Even as we speak, we have been receiving requests for inclusion. So all those we are working out. And as previously, the entire event is made accessible through an app, which helps you know your seat in a large auditorium, which also helps you navigate around the venue, because the venue is large, and the footfall that we are expecting across 4 days is in fact almost 70,000. Yes, it is almost 70,000 the footfall over 4 days. So you can get a sense of the number of people who will be there. Yashobhumi is actually quite well connected because there is a metro station nearby. We will be arranging for facilities to ferry people from the metro station, as well as the fact that there is a metro station just below Yashobhumi as well. So that also makes it much easier. And the idea is that when all these people are coming, it should both ease of entry and ease of exit that we are taking particular care of. That I think Number of delegates itself, paid delegates would be over 6,000. Number of exhibitors, we anticipate will be about 700, which is twice the number of exhibitors which were there in Bangalore. In fact, more than twice. We had about 315 or 316 exhibitors as far as I remember. This we will have 700. In Bangalore, we were 62 technical sessions, conference sessions. This year is going to be well over 100. And the number of delegates, number of paid delegates would be upwards of 6,000. There are also large number of country pavilions, which has also doubled just from Goa last year. Goa last year had 5 country pavilions. This year we have 10. I think that would be my sense of opening remarks in terms of what immediately I can share. Happy to take questions or any understanding which people would like.
We can have some questions now. Yes, ma'am. Yes, please, you can start. Can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Ruchira Singh from S&P Global. You mentioned that the concerns of a consuming nation gets amplified when the event is held there. So at this point, what are some of the concerns that you have for India's energy sector? Thanks.
See, the entire issue of energy access, sustainability, affordability, if you go back to the energy trilemma or energy quadrilemma, basically it resonates much more with consuming countries. We continue to argue for diversity of sources from where we can get oil and gas. We continue to argue for pricing which is reasonable and affordable. And we continue to look at a transition which is just and which is orderly. So those would be our major concerns.
Good afternoon, sir. Dhairya Maheshwari from Sputnik India. My question would be in regards to, would it be possible to get us idea about scale of Russia's participation in this India Energy Week? And are we looking at any major deals on the sidelines of the Indian Energy Week? Thank you.
So look, out of the 10 country pavilions that we are looking at, one of them is a Russian pavilion. And we also expect high-level leadership from the Russian side to be joining us. These the names are being finalized, and they will be revealed or made public at the appropriate time once we have final confirmations. Insofar as individual deals are concerned, see, the deals typically happen on a company-to-company basis. We don't put together these deals. So we have, as and when we receive a firm negotiated position from them, that is when we will be making it public.
Hello, sir. Rishi from the business line. One question, sir. As you mentioned, last year there was a IEA specific report on India about projections and energy demand and whatnot. And you also mentioned there were deals and other reports coming out. What would be very exclusive this year? We understand deals, as you mentioned, it's done somewhere else and announced at the event to give the event more prominence. So would some steps like that which gives IEW also more prominence, or do we expect anything from the International Energy Agency or OPEC about India's, sir, oil demand and all these things? Because if we look at the energy landscape, it's fast changing, and maybe in the next 10 years, consuming countries like India might have more voice. And an event like this gives more credence to that voice. So what is the larger philosophy of the government, for this year's IEW?
See, every country does not have a country-specific report from international organizations. Over the past 2 to 3 years, So the India Energy Week, this is the third edition, starting from Bangalore in 2023 and Goa in 2024. We are now in Delhi in 2025. All three events have been organized by the Federation of Indian Petroleum Industries, FIPI. Mr. Gurmeet Singh, my right, is the DG of FIPI. He is the main person, and Rajiv, whom you know from earlier, is working with FIPI on assisting FIPI on this task. And with me is the Joint Secretary in the Ministry, Isha Srivastava. So this is under the patronage of the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. This is an all-energy event. This is not an event which is only on oil and gas. From the very first time that it began, this has been an all-energy event. So renewable energy, coal, and any different type of energy that one can think of, all of that are encompassed. Conventional power, all that is part of the entire gamut of what India Energy Week does. The crucial thing about India Energy Week is that when we look worldwide at major energy events, typically when you talk of major energy events, you will talk of events like ADIPEC, you will talk of CERAWeek, you will talk of GasTech, you will talk of World Petroleum Congress, those kind of events. This is the third edition of the event for India Energy Week, and within this short time, India Energy Week is not just one of the premier events in energy, it is now arguably the second largest event in terms of the exhibition space, in terms of the participation by ministers, by CEOs, and the kind of footfall we see there, and I'll be happy to take you through numbers on that. What is also important is that India Energy Week is the first major energy event of the year. 2025, this is the first major energy event where global leaders in oil and gas meet. Typically, we go through such events during the course of the year. So CERAWeek comes in later, sometime in March, and then there is GasTech in the middle of the year, and then towards the end of the year, we see ADIPEC happening around October, November. So the fact that we are the first actually helps set the tone for discussions which will happen, the debates which will happen through the year. The second important thing about India Energy Week is that there are three things, major things which happen. One, of course, is the conference itself, and all major energy events typically have a conference. They will have technical sessions talking about it. Here we also have, in addition, the exhibition, that is big. And the third element is presentation of technical papers. I think this year we have got about 2,700 technical papers is what we have received. These have been evaluated by a high-level jury, and selections have been made, and then these papers get presented during the course of the event. So the three different formats get done. A third important thing is that this event is also open to the public at large. And what we see is that while there are paid delegates, and that's also a very big number, typically paid delegates get a full package in terms of food, in terms of access to all sessions and so on. So there are different gradings of access. But the fact that we have an open to the exhibition itself becomes open to the public, particularly on day 4 where it's fully available, and a lot of people can actually go to the site and be able to access even on the first 3 days. And this is not paid for, this is at request we can do that. This also enables a lot of students, lot of people who are working in the area to be able to see and interact with oil industry majors, to see pavilions and to see cutting edge work happening in oil and gas in various parts of the world. All that gets showcased here. The other big thing here, the fourth thing really, is about the engagement with startups and the engagements around technology. So there is a hackathon which is part of this event. There is a startup challenge which is called the Avinya Energy Startup Challenge 2.0. That is also happening here. So that's the other element here. Among the other highlights is something called the Clean Cooking Ministerial. Now, what the Clean Cooking Ministerial is about is that at the level of energy ministers of different countries, we get them to talk about clean cooking solutions, something which we tend to take for granted in India as LPG being available to everybody. There is a very large cohort of people right across the world for whom clean cooking fuel continues to be a major challenge. And there have been worldwide initiatives in terms of providing funds, arranging technology, arranging logistic solutions towards ensuring clean cooking. So we have a clean cooking ministerial which is happening on the sidelines of IEW 2025. There are also a whole host of other events which happen on the sidelines of IEW. There is an international conference of petroleum and natural gas regulatory boards, which also is going to happen. There are special workshops by globally renowned energy experts for Indian entrepreneurs to acquaint them with international best practices. So whether it's consulting firms in the oil and gas sector or consulting firms in other domains, so they will be doing these workshops. There's also a big stream of work is around global capability centers, GCCs for short. India is almost 10% of the world oil and gas top companies have global capability centers in India, GCCs, and many of them will be present to share their experiences. If I just look at the various technical sessions which will be happening across 4 days, we are looking at almost 100 sessions, strategic and technical sessions.